Welcome, guys. How are you guys? One thing I would like to share with you is we have some openings in for a DevOps engineer as a fresher, uh, like 1 to 3 years experience, or if you have a less than that, also we have some openings. So if you are interested, please ping me on WhatsApp. So I'm just trying to help you guys with some interview tips and cheat sheet, because in YouTube it is not possible to give a complete lecture, the explanation. Basically it's a one-way communication in YouTube, but anyway, that's okay. This video is basically for Azure DevOps cheat sheet people who are waiting for their interviews, or they're expecting some interviews for Azure DevOps. That will be really helpful for them. By the way, Azure DevOps is much easier than AWS DevOps. I mean, when it comes to the tools and techniques, Azure DevOps is really, both of them are equal, I would say, but Azure DevOps is more in demand nowadays. So if you are preparing for your interview with Azure DevOps, make sure that you attend a complete training on Azure DevOps, and most important thing is the Kubernetes part. How do you deploy a simple applications? How do you modify the YAML file? What do you mean by this YAML file? Those things, please make sure that you are thoroughly through with that. You have a better understanding, a clear understanding about the basic concepts. So that's what they are looking for. And obviously, minimum 4 projects. I'll be uploading some videos in coming days for the projects, and in that I'll show you the Azure DevOps as a practical, so that you don't need to spend money on that. But believe me, guys, if you want to learn those things, free tier is not sufficient, certainly, even for AWS and Azure. Anyway, it's not something very few things are free, and most of the things they are charging. Okay, that's fine. So for a DevOps engineer, most important thing is to understand the CI/CD pipeline. As I said earlier, you make one thing your favorite area of your skills. That is, either you can get configuration management and monitoring those things, or you can get into the CI/CD side. So CI part is the process of automatically building and testing the code every time the team members commit the code changes. If you changes automatically get detected, and then this will get integrated, the code commit of the main or the branches that shared the repository. If any changes in the repository or any changes in the code, that automatically trigger the build. And obviously system to build and test and validate the process. So the CI part has so many steps that may include your manual approvals of test and validation. So that is something that do not normally ask in interview, that what you mean by CI thing, explain in the brief or explain in the details. So that's the CI part. So these are the topics that we'll be sharing, that we'll be discussing throughout this lecture. This is 10 minutes lecture. So Azure DevOps Pipeline, this is very important, guys. Engineer will write the code through the help of Visual Studio. Then it will put in the studio Azure repos. Then we have a testing plan. Then we build the Azure pipelines. And the pipeline can be the build pipeline here, or it can be the delivery pipeline. Here, my last video, I mentioned that you need to have a web app, Azure web app, so that you can deploy your artifacts and directly to the Azure web app, and then here the application inside, and this is the Azure board basically. So Azure Pipeline automatically build, test, code projects to make them available to others. It works with the just about any language or any project type. Azure Pipeline combines continuous integration and continuous delivery to test and build your code and ship to the target, right? So this is CI and CD. When it comes to the pipeline, Azure DevOps Pipeline, that has both CI and CD, but we have a separate pipeline for CI and separate pipeline for CD as well. Agents plays very important role. Agents basically on any of the VM, if you want to deploy your artifacts or you want to deploy something on your VM, then normally the Microsoft agents are there or your self-hosted agents are there. So, but self-hosted agents you can modify. You have like your own. You can manage those agents on your own. So you can use self-hosted agent in Azure Pipeline or Azure DevOps Server. So to build your code and your software using Azure Pipeline, you need to have at least one agent. So even if you have a free tier, then you need to have one agent. You need to enable that agent. Sometimes it's chargeable when it comes to the parallel processing in that. The second thing is Microsoft hosted agent. So normally in interview they ask you about what do you mean by hosted agent and self-hosted agent and Microsoft hosted agent. So you need to explain them what is the job of agent. Agent basically they need to build your code. To build your code and deploy your software, you need like as I said earlier, using Azure Pipeline, you need at least one agent. So agent is a different concept, and if you go to the AWS side, when we have a separate concept over there, but in Azure we have agent. Very important things to understand. So Azure Pipeline YAML thing. Always remember, if somebody asks you what it's a build when you are doing some continuous integration. Once you select the repo, let's say repo is your GitHub repo or Azure repo. Once you select the repo, first you create the project and then you select the repo and then you select the deployment side. I mean, deployment means just a .NET or which framework you want to use it. Then it will normally it has predefined YAML file, which you can see when you start building or when you start creating a YAML file, or sometimes you need to write it. So Azure Pipeline is used for continuous integration. So continuous integration, we can have a simple 2-line YAML file also, or we can have 50 lines of YAML file also. So the steps are code. First of all, you check the code, deploy the code, test the server, and promoting the deployment to the stages. These are the steps. Now, when you say these are the steps, and you want to convert these steps into the code. I mean, the code that you need to write. So code. This example will show you that when you say the pipeline has a implicit stages, that is called stages. If you have multiple stages in your pipeline, the stage is a YAML file. Means if you just want to say hello world, then stages are not required. But if you want, let's say the steps are involved. Let's say you want to deploy something and then you want to restart the service, and after the restart you want to modify some more files, then you need to define those stages, and you need to make sure that you are defining those things under the stages and steps. So this is a typical YAML file. We'll have when we join the course, you will get a chance to write the YAML file. Always remember, guys, do some mistakes. I mean, it's okay to have a mistake, but try to write some YAML file for If you want to write in Kubernetes, please write it. Don't bother about these errors. We'll see those errors, right? So this has one implicit stage and one implicit job. So for this YAML file, if you see this YAML file, what it's saying that VM image is Ubuntu latest. So this is the name of the image, and steps. What steps you want to perform? Just say hello world. But here things are a bit different. Jobs A, it's saying echo A, and job B, it's saying echo B. Similarly, job C, it's saying restart the service. Job D, it's saying update some patch, something yum update or something. So those things are there in the YAML file. So when you first you read the YAML file and then try to write that YAML file. And by the way, when you write this YAML file, make sure that you make a note of it, and you all the successful YAML file, please keep a copy of that. Always remember, guys, in DevOps the thumb rule is don't invent the wheel on daily basis. It's a thumb rule, guys. You no need to invent everything. Somebody has already invented many things, so you just need to use those things wisely and smartly. Okay. Integrating Azure pipeline. So basically, pipeline means this process involves generation of artifacts. When you create the pipeline for CI, it will create the artifact, output, executable, whatever. So continuous integration. The process involves generation of a code artifact, output, executable, something, code build. And then the CD part, the Azure pipeline is also used in the deployment process, used for application deployment to various servers such as like serverless or Kubernetes or Docker or something. CD setup, environment variable, working environment. So CD is a deployment, CI is your hard work of your build, test, and checking on those things. So the next thing normally in interview they ask is about the Docker. How do you configure the multi-stage build? Multi-stage build means it is not just a simple build. It's have so many stages in there. So obviously in your Docker file, your YAML file, basically, you have to have the image as a dev, then test, then from this image and copy the format, the simple format. And for interview purpose, guys, don't get if you want to follow any YAML file, make it very simple, make it very convenient, so that if you want to explain something, if you want to write something on the dashboard, then it will be very helpful. Because if you give them some tough or complex study, what then they will ask you all complex questions. So this is stages from copy. These are the the Docker file. So it's a multi stages. So once you run this thing, it will create multi stages application. Normal, this is the typical normal question. How do you deploy application in Kubernetes? Obviously, first steps very important, guys. Don't get into those all dirty hands, all those things, because during interview before one day, you cannot go through all the labs. So it's just remember, modify the manifest file, deploy the application with kubectl apply, and then test the application using kubectl get service. Now, simple interview questions. Normally there are many. I will upload so many other questions, but the important thing is, if you don't know anything, just say that I don't know. Don't take too much time to answer the question that okay, you are thinking. That creates a very bad impression, and they might think that you are using some proxy or you are asking someone to answer the question. Maybe your voice should be bit louder, and if they are looking at you, then it should be very clear, focused on your face, and you should focus on their face. So if you don't know, just say I don't know. Don't worry, guys. It's not simple. One interview is not. It's not your life. So there are multiple interviews, and always, if you get a chance to attend the interview, always attend the interview. So I will add more videos regarding your Azure, regarding your AWS DevOps, big data, machine learning thing. But if you are looking for a startup, startup means if you are looking to migrate your career from non-IT to IT, then we have some openings. Maybe you need to start with some little small role, like a DevOps engineer or a cloud engineer or something, but you will get good growth in that. So and by the way, this is this foundation is basically for the non-profit foundation. So if you are looking to volunteer, then you are welcome. Till then, happy learning, and thank you, guys.